Welcome to the World Movers Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Angel Fire, with my co-host, Kwaku Amp. And today we have a very special guest on, Culttastic. She has, I believe, a single coming out soon. And she is a producer, songwriter, and singer. Culttastic, would you like to kind of give us background as to how you wound up in this current vaporwave scene?
So, hi, I'm Culttastic. I produce music as Culttastic, and let's see, vaporwave. See, I didn't know I was vaporwave, but
It's an
am I?
umbrella term.
Okay, that's cool. No, I'm down. Whatever. How did I end up in vaporwave? Well, I started making Witch House years back because I really liked the aesthetic, and I liked how, I don't know, ethereal the music was and how creepy the aesthetics around it were. So, and I guess that kind of died out a little bit, and then the next thing that happened was vaporwave. So maybe that's how I got into the vaporwave community, if that's something that happened. I don't know if it did. How did I get started? I started producing in my early teens. I used this program called Cubase, which was made by Steinberg. They also make a program called Cubase. Cubase was a simplified version of that. It's probably still exists. I went to Berkeley and studied music business and just kept producing. Berkeley College of Music. It's just a natural progression, I guess.
Is there a certain song you remember hearing on the radio or just really stuck out to you and you felt like maybe this song kind of pushed you in a direction to really kind of pursue making music on the internet? Is there any kind of song or album that you feel really inspired you to start this?
When I started writing music, I guess it's funny because it's different, the artists that really got me into music. I remember listening to the Spice Girls and Marilyn Manson. I remember seeing Marilyn Manson on MTV, and The Dope Show was the video, and I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I remember getting really into his music. But when I actually started writing music, it was a bit later. I was listening to The Strokes a lot. I was really obsessed with The Strokes. And I was really obsessed with Garbage, Metric, and Adam Green. So, I don't know, all these artists who toured with The Strokes, Adam Green, Regina Spektor, The Sounds, I got really into these artists. And that's when I started songwriting. So, for me, I guess I was inspired by all these artists.
That's a very diverse, I would say, diverse group of influences.
Yeah, it's a little odd because I'm thinking back on it. It's my most intense influences. It's weird to just cherry pick those and not really remember the others. So it is a weird group of influences now that I say it out loud.
When you were younger, you mentioned Cubase. Was there any kind of instruments or when you were a kid that you learned to play? Because I have some friends that that was kind of their start in school. They got into it and pursued it, maybe in college or whatever. And how was that?
I played piano since I was in grade school. Piano, yeah. My dad was a professional musician in the USSR. He was a touring guitarist. So I grew up in a pretty musical household. My dad and his cousins were always playing music, but we were always listening to jazz at home. So R&B and jazz mostly, bossa nova.
Hey.
And blues, B.B. King, stuff like that. So, and I guess the Beatles, but not really as much. But yeah, my dad really likes the Beatles. So it's weird just being exposed to that music that's totally different from what I'm into. But I have those jazz influences probably in my music too.
I think when it comes to music theory and all that, so much of modern music is in some way influenced by jazz. You just can't go wrong with something like that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot more sophisticated than, traditional, I don't know. It's just different.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of deviations from, I don't know, classical music, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of the musical innovations are made during that era, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like pop music just simplifies jazz, maybe, especially now.
Yeah, and you mentioned bossa nova too. I know a lot of people, who cite bossa nova and jazz as being their, inspiration. I think that really influences people's, melodies, to say the least.
Yeah, they've got some subtle melodies and just nuanced melodies for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I could never say I was really crazy about the genre. It was just like my environment.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that a lot of people are talking about bossa nova.
I remember as a kid having a piano, getting like a toy piano, and it had all these like preset like MIDI songs that you could like play along to, and one of the songs, I don't remember the name of it, but the genre was bossa nova, and that was my introduction to it, was just on a toy piano, which is kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if they were the first, but just those synthesizers or just pianos and them, and the rhythms have always been changing. Bossa Nova was one, and there was like one that was probably hip hop or something. But
That
now
sounds
there's
pretty
probably
similar.
one that's like EDM. Didn't really happen.
Yeah. Or like trap.
Yeah, that's a new. Is that a new term? I don't know, because has trap always been a term, but just not a mainstream term?
I think maybe it's just a renaming of something else. There was a documentary on YouTube about it. I can't really recall the title of it, but I think it's just a gradual progression, a change from one other genre. I forgot what it was called.
You mean Southern rap?
Yeah, the whole entire I guess Florida, rap scene. That was where it was produced. DJ Andrify, you remember that what's it called? The YouTube channel I sent you, the Underground Hip Hop Empire. There was this one trap like group somewhere on the channel. So I mean, it has its roots, I guess. That goes pretty far back, but they didn't call it trap music.
I remember the first time I heard trap, and I thought this is just like rap beats without rappers on them.
Yeah.
Like something Ludacris would rap over. I don't know. I just never it never hit me until they started mixing it with dubstep that it might be its own thing.
There were various waves, like I remember Lil Jon and like Crunk.
Yeah.
I remember like, was it like 2013 or something, when everybody had heard Turn Down for What and you could not escape it. But the trap rap that I hear now is pretty much rap with like trap drum presets, and I guess too, like the mumble rap is part of that now. So I mean, there's been like a change, and I think that's what's so confusing about the term is that you go on YouTube, you're gonna find thousands of different YouTube tutorials on how to create trap, but none of them quite seem to have the same definition of what trap is.
Like very specific type of drum sounds. They're very dry. They're almost really high end. They have a specific rhythm that's very like hip hop. Y2K hip hop in my mind, but I don't know what it really. But I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of trap tutorials. That sounds fun, actually.
There's this channel. It's called Turismo, and he goes into detail about Southern hip hop. It's called Welcome to Hell: The Story of Southern Hip Hop, I believe. Kind of gives you a little bit of insight into where rap is today. I mean, there's a lot of other facets to it, but it's a really enlightening video, I think. Getting back to actual questions here, I I noticed in your video, A Quantum Girl, that your fashion style is very eclectic, which I like. I noticed some influences from Witch House. I think you mentioned that earlier. I was just wondering
Oh
if
yeah,
you could
totally.
yeah. I was wondering if you could kind of expand upon your thoughts and about Witch House and yeah.
Yeah, Witch House, I like it, you know. I remember the first time I heard White Ring, or the first time I heard Salem, the first time I heard Rituals, and I just felt like I was floating. It's just very expansive and it's very heavy. And it has those trance synthesizers. I'm a big fan of Y2K trance music, 90s trance music, trance pop music from the 90s and 2000s. And they use a lot of those sounds, and that's what it was with me in Witch House. And then also reverb drenched atmospheres. That's a very big thing in Witch House that I appreciate. So I really wanted to make a Witch House track. I'm not sure if it translated as a classic Witch House track because people seem to respond that, oh, this has Witch House influences, and it's never, oh, you made a Witch House track, which is fine. Like, I'm not, upset or anything, but it's interesting that it didn't translate as a Witch House track in a way, and I'm not really sure what it sounds like. It almost seems like it's a pop track now.
It sounds like a underground internet produced pop track, and I think because of just the shift from when Witch House was big, and now it's kind of seen as, I guess, maybe in the past. I'm not like a huge follower of it, but I know a little bit about it, and so that's just my kind of guess.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's probably my favorite song, Quantum Girl. I wouldn't say it's my best. Maybe. I mean, it really depends because they're all different styles, my songs. But that one is probably my favorite.
They got that kind of like artificial auto-tuned vibe to them, but it's done just, I think, a very tasteful and kind of uncanny way that it really works with the track and really kind of brings out this polished vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't deal without auto-tune. It's just doesn't sound good. It's not that I can't sing on key because I can sing jazz, but it's just it sounds wrong. It's like playing a piano instead of playing a synthesizer in a trance track. I mean, and it's in a classic trance track with the piano, like you would do that. But like maybe in just a synth pop track, a piano instead of a synth. It just doesn't make sense. Like it just seems really illogical in my mind to not use the vocoder or the auto tune. I really like the way it sounds. Yeah, like Alice DJ or Gigi D'Agostino or any, they have that feeling, and I don't like vocals that don't sound like that when I personally listen to music. It's robotic. It's like synthesized, just like all the other instruments.
Did you actually use a vocoder in Quantum Girl?
No, the it's auto. Well, it's not even auto tune. It's just pitch shifted. I didn't use a vocoder. Vocoder I used on "I'm the Night," and my upcoming single, "Sound." I used a vocoder for a harmonic effect, which was a lot of fun. But otherwise, it's pitch tuning that I use.
I remember seeing I think it was Vice, did a behind-the-scenes look at the classic track "I'm Blue" by Eiffel 65. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that.
They talked about how they didn't use auto-tune on that. It was actually some kind of like vocoder software that they used.
Yeah, that's cool. It's got the little wavy effect. I don't know what you would call that. Just it's oscillating.
Yeah, flange, I would say.
That's interesting. That was one of the first CDs I bought, Eiffel 65.
How old were you when you kind of started listening to like a lot of trance and stuff like you're talking about?
I was like 5 years old. My brother was promoting some trance releases that were coming out in Europe, but he was promoting them here, and he would just play me some songs, and I was really, really young. Yeah, the first time I heard trance music, my brother played a CD for me, and he said this is called trance music. And I was like in kindergarten, and I thought it was really euphoric. And he would always play it for me when he was driving me around. He really loved it. He loved trance for a really long time. And I just thought it was the most beautiful music, just ever since I was very young.
So your brother was in like the rave scene, or like I guess EDM culture?
I guess so. I mean, I don't really know what he did because he didn't like, take me to clubs when I was 5 and played me music. But I guess so. Yeah, he would get a lot of CDs of all the new music that was coming out, so he got to listen to some of the best of it, and he would play it for me, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah, he played a lot of rave music for me. I remember he had a couple of CDs, like one was called This Is Rave, and then he told me this is rave, and I was like, I'm really enjoying it.
Is he like still involved in music, any capacity, or?
He produces music. DJ Noise Jam is his most recent DJ name. He took the picture of me actually for Ugly is Beautiful, my single. That album cover, it's a photograph he took, and it's credited to DJ Noise Jam, and that's him. And that's his like minimal house DJ name. I don't want to say the genre wrong, because he also produced a lot of stuff under the name BPMster with no vowels. It's just BPMSTR, and I think it's hardstyle.
So it's like hamster dance on acid.
Hamster dance? I don't know hamster dance. I feel like I've maybe seen this on YouTube or something, but I don't know the song.
So hamster dance is this video, and I remember seeing it when I was in school. I'd say maybe 2006, 2007. All I remember is this like animated hamsters, and they're dancing to this like really tinny TR-909 like dance EDM style beat. But yeah, I'm sure if you search it up, you'll find billion results.
I feel like I've seen it, but okay, I'll look it up. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an interesting thing.
Oh,
Are you
God.
asking me if this is what hardstyle? No, this is like.
I was making kind of a joke, like it's dance on acid.
Oh man. I feel like hamster dance on acid would be like nightcore.
I was just about to say that.
Almost already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the hamster voices.
God, they used to always play that song in my gym class in elementary school. It was so cringy.
Oh man.
It also reminds me of that one song, Caravan Dancing? Is that what it's called? I'm not sure if you guys heard of it. Maybe.
I don't know.
Dance?
Yeah, something like Caramel Dancing, something like that.
I don't know. Now this I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Let's see. Caramel, like the
it's
thing.
CARAME.
Okay, so like the thing you put on ice cream and apple.
Dance and D.
Instead of caramel.
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 I guess just how
it should find it.
Japanese video version or what? Or are we gonna look at the Swedish original?
There's a Swedish version.
I don't know. I clicked on the Swedish original because this one has 6 million views.
Oh God.
Okay, so this is what they call Eurodance.
Yeah. I guess.
I love it.
Like real cheap produced like EDM, gimmicky kind of EDM.
I mean, this music sounds really vintage.
Yeah.
It does.
This sounds like some really authentic 90s music, but that's cool.
On the topic of sharing music, I have, I guess, another one that it's called Scape Babies. The title of it is In a World.
Oh, wow. What happens if I play it? Is it going to play to everyone?
I mean, we'll hear it, but it's all right.
Do you hear it? Do you hear it now?
Did you play it?
Yeah, I'm playing it.
Oh, no, we don't hear it. It's all right.
You don't hear it?
No.
Oh. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I like it. It's very Windows 98.
Yeah, the Windows 2000
Windows
update
2000.
server.
Yeah. I like the vocoders on this track. And I am wondering, is this vintage or does it just look vintage?
No, it is vintage. Came out in 1999.
Oh. Nice. Yeah, I remember looking at some art that had this sort of look. And it was a woman who was making these cats inside of fractals. And I'm wondering if they use the same sort of program. Her name is Linda Buckland. She makes fractals with cats. And it reminds me of the art in this video.
Wow, that's amazing. I've never seen this before.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, it reminds me of the Scape. Was it called Scape Babies? Yeah, the Scape Babies aesthetic. I really dig it.
Very psychedelic. Well, Kwaku, you may need to get some of her art for your next album.
I gotta check it out now. 1 second. Getting back to your music, Culttastic. Have you worked on any collabs recently?
Yeah, I'm actually working on something with Mr. Kitty, my good friend. And he's featured on a song on the album. And I was actually talking to him right before I got on this podcast. So, yeah, we're just finishing that song and I'm really excited. It's I don't know if it might be the happiest song on the album. It's just like I might be in a major key even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it because his new record is really dark, and I really, really love his new record. So it's really interesting the contrast of our collab. It's just, and I'm not a very well, I don't know, maybe in person I'm a happy person or something, but my music is usually in minor keys and very just heavy, or that's how I feel it is. Maybe it's not. But so it's a cool contrast between his record and what's going to be on my record. If that made any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I was just getting distracted by
all the art on lindabuckland.com. Yeah.
It reminds me of this one weird website. It's called it's The Human, but it's backwards. In fact, it has the exact same format. It's like a maze, and you have to navigate yourself around the website and use, I think, the whole gematria type coding in order to understand this guy's message. So it's a really
is this like a witchcraft site?
If it is, then I guess I'm already screwed.
Screwed when they built those 5G towers with Kwaku.
Oh yeah, those 5G towers in my neighborhood. Oh god, it hurts every day going outside.
Really? Yeah, I mean, painful?
It's just it. No, I'm being sarcastic.
I don't know if they exist around me. I mean, I feel like they would, but who knows?
Oh, you'll feel it. You'll feel it.
I don't know. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I'm terrified. No, I read somewhere that it's really not good for you, and that they made it illegal in some country.
Actually, I mean, to be serious about the whole 5G thing, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Some of it, could actually be harmful. But at least your internet's fast. But
I don't know. I feel like my internet was fine before.
Oh no, I can't agree with you on that. My internet's trash. You see, this podcast would be so much better if we had more 5G, all around us.
I thought 5G was more of a telephone thing.
No, it's like connectivity. It's how fast you can get on these waves and stuff like that. It
But
is
you
only
don't connect
pertained to.
through 5G, or I guess you do with household internet too.
Yeah, I mean it's directional. I'm pretty sure. So from a 5G tower, your best connection is anything that's directional to it, something like that. But yeah, the whole 5G thing is pretty dope to read about because you can like this one guy in China was doing an experiment where he was playing frequencies and like 5G related things through animals' heads and stuff, and it made them crazy and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
great! Sounds
yeah,
exciting.
your internet is faster, I guess, and you can game better.
Interesting. I wonder if there's a way to block those waves. Do I have to wear a tinfoil hat? I would do it, but
DC.
would it work, or will I just look stupid? Like, that's what I want to know.
I don't know I don't think it's gonna work because it can go through tissue. 5G waves can go through tissue, and you can literally see through people's bodies with it, and see through walls as well. I know there's this one medical center around me, which I want to get an internship at, and they're like experimenting with 5G, and they're doing the whole body mapping and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Terrifying, but cool.
Yeah, terrifying but cool.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
see, Kwaku has, or had rather, because he's graduated, he had this infotech teacher who was overwhelmingly opposed to not just 5G, but probably all Wi-Fi radio waves and.
Yeah, I mean, he's into the whole. He has a lot of conspiracies, and that's not to say he is like dumb or anything. He's actually a pretty intelligent guy, but I think he just overanalyzes things sometimes. And he was talking about how he wouldn't let his kids outside because they're putting this 5G like tower near him, and he was getting anxious about it. And he would always talk about it in school. He had like this theory, the end of the world was coming because like the color of the moon and stuff like that. And I remember one day he was really bummed out, and he was like talking about how like the future was dark and grim, and it was just really out of place to see him like that. Yeah, I never really experienced that 'cause when I first came to high school, like so when I was a freshman, I thought it was a joke because everyone was talking about clouds with him, and they did it in a way that was really like sarcastic. But you can
Clowns? Like,
clouds. He believes
clouds.
in chemtrails and stuff. And he was like 100% serious. He was right on that. And you would see him every day. You would walk out into an open field during lunch and just look at the sky. But apart from that, he's a really cool guy.
What subject did he teach?
He was an infotech teacher, so like design engineering. We would work with Arduino and stuff like that in school.
That's cool.
So yeah, and he hated Fortnite. So yeah, it was just he really hated it because everyone would like floss dance in front of him. He
Fortnite.
thought
I
it was
keep
like
hearing
Chinese
about it,
mind
but I
control.
don't know what it is.
You don't know what Fortnite is?
Honestly, no. Like,
What?
I keep hearing about it. So is it a video game? Is it like a
Yeah.
action-based video game?
It's
Is
like a
it?
battle royale type video game.
I don't.
And like
Okay.
it blew up a year ago, and everyone's still talking about it.
No, I remember people kept talking about it, and I assumed it was a game, but that's as far as it went.
Yeah, they did this really unique thing where they would incorporate popular dances into the game.
Or steal them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, steal them too. I guess you could say that. Because of that, a lot of kids have latched onto that. It's pretty weird because like my neighbor's son, I haven't seen him at all, like barely. And he's like 8 now, and I just see him in the middle of the street when I'm driving. He's doing his Fortnite dance. So I can see why everyone's getting angry about this stuff, but
So wait, Fortnite has specific dances that don't exist outside of the game?
yeah, there are dances that okay. So there was this one guy, this one meme called Backpack Kid, and he would do a dance where he would I don't even know how to describe it. He would like go in and out between his arms as he sways his hips back and forth. And then Fortnite was like, "Oh, we're making a game. You know what? Let's everyone's doing this on Vine and stuff. They did this on Vine. Let's put it in our game and have our characters do it as some type of a taunt. So if you'd kill somebody, you would dance on their body. It was really weird.
That's
Um,
fine.
yeah, but
I can see
strangely
how
enough,
that
they
could be
got sued
viral.
for that. It's kind of weird.
Oh, like copyright infringement or something else?
Yeah, it's like copyright or people are trying to trademark things, like trademark dancing. It's so
Can you? I
I
mean, you could
I,
probably
I
copyright a dance.
you
I don't
can
know.
you can I really don't know honestly because I've seen people trademark like methods on trying to get on the internet, like connecting to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe you could do that. Maybe you could trademark, the steps of your dance. Honestly, I really don't know.
Well, I think we're going to take a quick, probably 10, 15-minute break, and then we'll come up and pick up with you and possibly bring in Noah to ask you questions too.
Okay, swag.
You can catch me smoking crack. You can catch me smoking crack in my Lambo. Call me quantum girl, cruising the D, cruising the default mode. It's already over. You call me quantum girl. Call me quantum girl. You say call me quantum girl. Call me quantum girl. Call me quantum girl, cruising the default the sky. Take me up. I wanna penetrate the atmosphere. Take me up to you. Take me beyond the clouds tonight. Anything you feel. The sky is falling on you. The stars are everywhere. I can't think about anything with you. Floating right through you. Take me off of the planet. Yeah, I wanna go up through the sky. Take me up. I wanna penetrate the atmosphere. Take me up to you. Take me beyond the clouds tonight. For you, for you, for you. For you, for you, for you. For you, for you, for you. I am holographic. I'm wearing PVC. When they ask you where you're going, you wanna tell them. I'm on your mind tonight when I don't know how to pass the time. I turn the fantasy into entity. My body's opening portals to everything you can feel. PVC, PVC. PVC, PVC. On your mind. Holographic, holographic. Holographic, holographic. On your mind. My body's opening portals to everything you can feel. Opening portals to everything you can feel. PVC, PVC. On your mind. On your mind tonight. When you change the channel, I step out of the screen. Or maybe you fall inside it. No one can tell you. They all wanna know that I'm on your mind tonight when I don't know how to pass the time. I turn the fantasy into entity. My body's opening portals to everything you can feel.
Welcome back to the World Movers Media Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Angelfire. My co-host, Kwaku Amp. Co-host 51st Citizen is going to be joining us to ask some questions.
Well, I guess the one question that has been bubbling in my mind a little bit, and I didn't listen to the first half, so I'd almost be surprised if something along these lines didn't come up, but just in case it didn't, a lot of your, or just the overall image and vibe that you give off to me seems like it's sort of along the lines of other artists like Slater, who are sort of, I don't know if you know Slater, they're probably better examples. I'm trying to think, but just like
Slater's cool. I
they're,
heard a track I really like how it sounds. Yeah. The Alicia Erotica is the producer on a lot of those songs, and I really dig it. I dig it sounds like vintage Britney Spears or Max
yeah,
Martin. Yeah, I really dig that for sure.
yeah, I guess part of what I was sort of aiming for is just that a lot of these artists, like you, I would say, maybe I'm wrong. It's up to you, I guess, how you want to interpret it. But like you, like Slater, doing this sort of, it seems inspired by and almost a tribute to like old Britney Spears, somewhat Kesha, maybe more in the case of Slater, Lady Gaga, that sort of thing, like these old, female electro pop big stars. But like it's definitely done with a little bit of self-awareness and that sort of thing. So maybe you've already talked about this in the first half, and if if that's the case, I apologize. But maybe we can attack it from a different angle. But just I was wondering if you could talk about a little bit of if that's an
Yeah.
influence that you
I'm a
think
big
of
Max
and how
Martin
it
fan.
influences.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big Max Martin fan. I'm always on the forums like, how did he produce this? Like, what is his vocal production method? How does he songwrite? There aren't a lot of interviews with Max, and so I recently read this somewhere, and I think after the Beatles, he's the highest grossing or most number one hits songwriter in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So, and it's really interesting to me because there's just not a lot of mainstream stuff that I like, and yeah, his songwriting is pretty amazing. It's something that's mainstream that I actually like. So yeah, I think that's been a big influence. Just him as a producer, for sure.
I'm not sure if I've ever heard of Max Martin. I'm sure he's one of those people that like I've heard his songs, even though I haven't heard of him specifically. But always interesting when you see like a movement that sort of seems to be a movement, and then you can kind of trace it back to one guy.
Yeah, he's very special. He's I believe he's Swedish. I don't know. I'm like on Wikipedia now. Let's see. He is Swedish. Yeah.
Me too.
Really prolific hitmaker. And that's kind of my goal. But also just to be true to my own aesthetic
I like that.
sensibilities. So, yeah. But I like his aesthetic a lot. I mean, not every single thing, like obviously I'm not a fan of Maroon 5, whether he produced it or not. But I don't know, a lot of the stuff that's like, good music I really like. Not to be a dick.
Have you ever listened to any artists on the PC Music label? Because a lot of your kind of image and stuff definitely reminds me of like the PC Music kind of like vibe.
Yeah, I have. I like A.G. Cook. I like Danny L. Harl. I've actually seen them both live at Output in New York. That was fun. I remember A.G. Cook played this set and that had no bass in it. And the whole set, I was just trying to figure out if it was on purpose or not. And apparently it was, but I'm still not sure. And then Danny L. Harl played and he brought the bass back. And I like his music. I like both their music. I like PC Music. I like Hannah Diamond. They put out some great tunes. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, what was the first track you made?
First track I made ever was called Taxi Cabs.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, no. The first track I ever made was like this. I mean, I don't know if it has a name. I was just like Incubasis sampling those Enigma drums.
Mhm.
Uh, Pure Sadness Part 1, I think it's called, or something. Sadness Part
Mhm.
1. Yeah, it had a fun bass line that was made out of just bass piano. Um, yeah, it was cool, and I was layering vocals. It was exciting. The first song that I made on a Mac was this song called Taxi Cabs. I don't know, I've made a lot of random music in random places.
And I'm curious, like, if there are any specific artists or just in general about PC music that influences you.
Yeah, holographic. I was really influenced by A.G. Cook in a weird way, to the point that I almost made like all the drums. You know how that song has a house beat? I almost made the beat instead of a house beat to have like this, you know, the snare thing that they
Yeah.
do. They do the snare thing instead of the bass drums sometimes, or they do them together. And I have that at one point in the song, maybe at the end of the song, but I was gonna have it all the way through until somebody listened to it and was like, "This sounds weird." And and they and then I was like, "Okay, what about this house beat?" And they're like, "Yeah, that sounds normal." So I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll, like I'm just gonna make this a regular song, not some sort of weird PC music influenced song." But yeah, I was very influenced when I made holographic, actually. Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that whole like having the bass drum and the snare drum hit at the same time on the one beat. It's very cool. It's very energizing.
Your visuals have this kind of uncanny presence to them that I think is enhanced with that kind of I don't know how you say off kilter, but just kind of unusual sound. It all kind of flows together. I know that your one song is called Ugly is Beautiful, and I think it's kind of perhaps descriptive of your kind of approach is taking these kind of uncanny images, or I don't know, I'd say ugly, but just things that people would otherwise find weird, and kind of embracing that whole aesthetic. And I guess in a larger sense, we were talking about this with a Instagram page owner, ODbug. There seems to be this embrace of the uncanny and artificial, at least online, in terms of the images and the music. And I'm just curious, like, why you think that is, or like what your take on it is.
Oh, I like that you brought that up. I feel like that crystallizes a lot of what I'm going for. But it's not like I'm looking for something really ugly and saying, how can I make this hot? But I don't know. Yeah, just seeing things. Um, Maybe it's just like reacting to something, just having a reaction to something that's maybe negative, but seeing that the reaction is actually excitement and trying to turn it into that or show that perspective to other people. Maybe it's what I do subconsciously. I'm not like constantly looking for things that I find repulsive to make more attractive by showcasing them in a specific way. But maybe I should.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because, like, the 3D avatars you use, they kind of remind me of, like, IMVU, really, like, late 90s 3D human posing applications. And I definitely like that whole aesthetic you're going for.
Honestly, I just thought they were hot. Like, I wanted to make something really beautiful, and I just couldn't take a picture that was that cool. I had to use something
Like, your use of
artificial.
auto-tune and the virtual instruments in your work, I think it fits really well, complements it.
I don't know. I was kind of going for like making a new separate world with each song, and that's why I wanted to do a separate cover art for each of them and release each one as a single because they're all so different. That's a big thing that I'm doing on this album.
Do you feel like you have kind of carved out for yourself a specific sound, or you feel like you're still trying to hone in on your sound?
I mean, that's kind of a matter of perspective, because when people listen to me, if they hear a lot of elements common, like rhythmic or textural, melodic, then, you know, some sort of average of that is my sound from the listener's perspective. But for me, I just, what am I find inspiring, and that's what I make. It's not really like I have a sound or I am a sound. It's just like, what am I experiencing at the moment? It always comes out. I don't know. I think the next record, I want it to be really dark. I want it to be really witch house. I don't know. I might change my mind a million times by the time I finish that one. But I just want to make something. I like all the dark goth stuff. I like all the industrial stuff. I want to do less bright, happy songs, but they just happen. I was in a good mood when I was working with my friend, Mr. Kitty, and we just made a really happy song. So those are always. But yeah, people seem to notice the fact that there's a huge disparity in terms of style among all my songs. And I feel like you can still recognize me through my voice, but I don't know if there's anything. Maybe the melodic intervals or the harmonies I use are instantly recognizable too, and some of the textures repeat, despite the fact there are totally different genres. I like to use a lot of the same synths to make them, so that's a common thread among those songs. I feel like to be marketable, I have to find something more, I don't know, repetitive or whatever, something consistent so that people can come back to me for the same sound, right? That's the thing. But I don't know if I will or if that's my goal. Maybe it should be. But I don't know. I've definitely thought about it. Yeah, I don't know. It's really like I'm not going to not make something that inspires me, and I'm not going to put it out if I think it's great under my name. So, there's that. I don't know. What do you think? Like, should I?
I think you should.
To me, I think that, just the way that you layer everything and the production of it, it definitely has a unique sound. I know that I was recently watching this interview about Spotify and how there's this specific Spotify sound going around where, like, artists will cut down intros and they'll put in more hooks in a song so that it gets picked up for airplay on Spotify. So, like, stuff like that is something that you kind of have to decide. Is this something I feel like won't compromise me as an artist, or, is my style just too different? I think that ultimately, whatever you're going for, you will definitely find a fan base, whether it's a, kind of a smaller fan base or you reach a larger audience. I think if you're a musician and you're doing something unique, you're bound to attract attention.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all my music is coming from the same emotional sensibility and from the same aesthetic sensibility, so that's bound to resonate with someone or many people because it's all same aesthetic coming from the same place. It's just you hear it on different genres. At least that's how I see it. I'm curious how other people will see it as I put out more music. I don't think it's I don't know. Maybe it's just not acceptable within the genre, because within the pop music genre, you could have somebody put out a hip hop influenced song and then put out a more classically, pop song, and then put out a ballad that's a really slow song. It's more just instrumental. And then it's not weird. But if you do it the way I'm doing it, like nobody's doing it, or maybe a few people are doing it, but not that many people are doing it, so it's a little weird. I don't feel like I'm making like, a jazz song and then a new metal song, or it's not that weird. I feel like it's still the same genre that I'm making. But it's really hard to be objective because I'm the one making it.
I think that's kind of why, like, when I started out, I was thinking of, like, how to refer to your music because, vaporwave is such a loose umbrella these days. And I feel that pretty much every upcoming internet artist in one way or another has been impacted by kind of the aesthetics of vaporwave. And so to me, I feel like, I wouldn't say it in the traditional sense it's vaporwave. It does seem to kind of fit in with that whole kind of wave of upstart internet artists that came out, kind of various waves of vaporwave.
I was going to say before vaporwave there was dreamwave, and I feel like vaporwave is almost like a detuned version of dreamwave in my mind. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, there's this one group called Washed Out. Wait, was it Washed Out? Yeah. And they sampled this one song called Gary Lowe, I Want You. And yeah, it's classified as dreamwave, or I think that's the term. And if you go on the video, on their video for it, you'll see comments, people saying vaporwave before vaporwave existed. So I guess, there's some, like, I guess, similarities between the two and some stimation from it.
Yeah, just texturally, those synthesizers and the rhythms. I just hear vaporwave as like a chopped and screwed dreamwave with, those same synths but detuned. Because dreamwave is that 80s synthwave aesthetic. Now it's just all called synthwave. I mean, from people who aren't really into the aesthetic side of audio. They just call it synthwave. But yeah, no, I guess whatever it is, the 80s, the synth thing, maybe even vaporwave as an aesthetic, it's definitely influencing pop music. I have to agree with that.
Yeah, and I think one notable example of that, in my mind, has to be George Clanton, because he's kind of bridged the gap with the sampling, kind of detuned vaporwave sampling, but also bringing in a lot of alt-rock kind of lyrical influences and a lot of kind of rave-ish, down-tempo, this kind of, I guess, concoction of different sounds. And this is actually something I'm getting to. I noticed that George Clanton actually follows you on Instagram, and I'm just kind of curious, like how did that happen?
I don't know. Yeah, like we actually met in Brooklyn. I don't know if we played any shows together, but yeah, we follow each other on Instagram. I really like his music. I think he blends the genres really well. It's a little bit, more seamless than what I'm doing, which I totally appreciate. Yeah, I really like a lot of songs that he's making. The latest album is really cool. And I love the detuned effect that he uses, and just rhythmically, it's just really dreamy. Yeah. No, he's a really cool artist for sure. And Negative Gemini is another really cool artist. They have that 100% electronica label together. So yeah, I'm a fan for sure. I think they're doing really dreamy, emotional, fun music.
Yeah, I saw George Clanton when he played in my area about a year ago. I just was blown away how laid back he was. He came, sat down with everybody. Like, if you didn't know immediately who he was, you see this guy there at the bar, and you're like, you just think he's an ordinary dude just coming in to see the show, and then it's like, oh no, wait a minute, that's actually George Clanton. And that, like, as soon as people start recognizing that, all these people start coming around the table to talk to him. And it was hard at some points to hear him because of, just the acoustics in the bar. And I guess because his hearing is shot. So, but, he did his best with that. And I even got an autographed copy of his Eastbury album. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's hard to talk to people when it's loud at bars. It's so hard. That's like one of the challenges of being a musician. You're always wondering if you're going to lose your voice before you even get on stage.
Or lose your hearing.
Or both, yeah. He's awesome, yeah, for sure.
Have you actually played live or, played any music like live or DJ'd?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I used to DJ a lot more. Last show I played live was at the end of February at this place called Alphaville in Brooklyn with this band called Mevius and Le Sphinx, and it was pretty amazing. They're my friends. They're really cool artists, sort of darker, witchier music. Mevius is more rock, Le Sphinx like electro-punk. I haven't really done a live thing since. I really want to go on tour when my whole record comes out. Maybe I'll play some shows between now and then. So my record's coming out October 4th. It's self-titled. It's Culttastic, which I'm excited about.
It's not easy putting together an album. I know there are so many tracks you start working on, you just like run out of steam and wind up just leaving them unfinished.
Yeah. Sometimes that's good. I mean, if you really believe in a track or if you really love the idea, you always come back to it. I don't know. I do. And just work through it because, yeah, those are the worst when you forget, but then you have to finish it. I mean, or maybe they're the best. I don't know.
Just don't wait too long. I lost all my files. God.
Man, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't even know how that happened, but that's whatever.
So there's this thing called Super Duper. You can back up your hard drive to an external hard drive.
Yeah.
It's like a program you download, and then it just takes your hard drive and creates what's called a carbon copy of it, so that you can use that hard drive to boot any other similar sort of computer with a similar operating system. If one hard drive fails, then the other one, you could just work off of that and then transfer it onto an internal hard drive.
I don't even think it failed. It's just like Ableton did a thing where it kind of like threw it all over the place on my hard drive. I don't know where it is, but
Wow.
it's very strange.
Oh my god, I can't even deal with Ableton. Like, Ableton is so weird. So, whenever I drag songs into Ableton, it modifies the original song to the point where I can't listen to it anymore.
Like it warps it for you?
It doesn't warp it. It's like it aliases it, or it creates some other file, or it ruins the song, and then the song no longer exists in the original location. It's really bizarre. And so, I mean, the only thing I ever did in Ableton was make DJ sets, which is why I know this fact. But
yeah, that's what happened to me.
And it disappeared. And like the song was just, it's just so weird. I don't like Ableton. I don't know. Everyone else seems to like it.
I mean, despite that, I like it, but I think there's probably something in the settings that I just didn't work out correctly. But
maybe.
Oh well.
Wow. Hardcore.
Yeah, shout out to Super Duper.
Yeah, shout out to Super Duper. I mean, I think it's called Super Duper. The company might be called something else.
When I first started making stuff in Ableton, whenever I would search it up on my computer, I could never find, it wouldn't show up in Windows search. And now I guess it's a little better, but I still get paranoid about, my files getting corrupted.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, corrupted. That's the word. Yeah, it corrupts everything. It's Ableton. I don't know what it is.
I still like the look of it though. I just I don't know. I guess I'm used to it, but I transitioned over from FL Studio to Ableton because I just, the user interface was just, to me, it was just more simple. It was just simplified, to say the least. Maybe you guys have different experiences with that.
I've tried Ableton, but I've only really used it for DJ mixes. I've made stuff in Cubase, Digital Performer, Reason. I didn't jump around. I would just use one. So, like, since I used Digital Performer, it might have, improved. I've used Pro Tools. I didn't like it when I used it. It's probably different now. Logic, I really liked. So I stuck with it, but I've tried Fruity Loops since, and I really dig that one. But yeah, Logic is just, it's nice when your digital audio workstation is a constant, so you don't really have to think about it and you can focus on the music.
Yeah.
The interface for Digital Performer reminds me a lot of Ableton.
So yeah, the version I used was like 10 years ago, so I don't know, it might now. I thought Digital Performer reminded me a lot more of Cubase or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I briefly used them to make some tunes, but just the workflow and Logic makes the most sense to me. I'm a pretty linear person, I think. Digital Performer, I remember using MIDI to make it, but like MIDI with audio generators and stuff like that. It wasn't just like software instruments. It was really a lot harder to me, in my mind. Maybe it's the same. It's just hardware versus software.
You mentioned about kind of like your workflow and stuff. How is it when like you make a song? How does that all kind of form? As you make like a beat, you make melody, or maybe you do some singing, and then think, okay, now I want to take this further. Like, how is that for you, making a song?
Yeah, I mean, it usually starts with a beat. Sometimes it starts with a chord progression. Sometimes it starts with a melody. And sometimes I'll make a beat and then I'll just sit there and I'll come back to it months later and I'll make a chord progression or a bass line or something. And then the melody is something I might write at the end. So it's almost like I'm producing a track and then I'm doing the top line. But I'm just doing it all on my own. It's really interesting when I start off with a melody. Because then if I start off with a melody, I have to create the chord progressions before I create the rhythm, because it just doesn't make sense to record a melody and then to just make a rhythm, although that's an interesting thing to try, now that I think of it. So I'll record those aspects and I'll try to come up with a lot of polyphonies. Sometimes I come up with like 20 lines of polyphonies and then I'll delete 15 of them and just keep the ones I like and sprinkle them throughout the song.
Your line in Quantum Girl, you say, "You can catch me smoking crack in my Lambo." Is this a reference to Vipers, "You cowards don't smoke crack"?
No, I have no idea. "You can catch me smoking crack in my Lambo" is probably just like, because like when Witch House started, I guess 2009, 2010, there were all these artists talking about crack. For some reason, that's a Witch House thing. Like there's an artist, How I Quit Crack, and then Salem's, one of their EPs was called like Yes, I Smoke Crack. So there was just like a reference to like, this is a Witch House song that I'm making.
Viper is, I guess, this kind of, he's one of these like extremely amateur rappers that has such a horrible sound. It's been, I guess, adopted in kind of an ironic way, and there's like some shadiness around him, but
There is?
yeah. I'm not sure the whole details. It has something to do with, I guess, him hiring some models, well, not models, but more likely escorts off back pages, and then like he wanted them to be in his video, and something.
Yikes.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? So yeah, he had that album that was called "You'll Cowards Don't Smoke Crack," and for some reason it got really popular, and like he was having fans edit his music videos where he would be in a green screen. People would edit nothing over like 9/11 or something.
Oh man.
But why? This is all so confusing.
That's memes for you.
To be honest,
Yeah,
What is
Viper
Yo
seems...
Cowards? What does that even mean?
I don't know. I guess it's just funny. You'll cowards.
Yeah. He's also got like 300 albums.
What?
You all cowards? Is that what that means?
I don't know. Maybe that's the slang for it. I
think it's supposed to be y'all, except he was smoking crack.
Wait, does he really have like 300 albums?
I think so.
Oh god.
I think there was a period where he was supposedly putting out like an album a day, and I don't even understand how that's humanly possible.
Kanye wanted to do that.
Amazing.
Kanye wanted to do
Wait.
that. That was crazy.
That would be sick.
Is he like a based rapper then? Is he based?
I'd
Yeah.
say he's pretty good.
He's a bass head, I can tell you that. But that was a triple entendre right there. Yeah, that guy's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I've never really heard of this person, and it sounds really dramatic, but interesting, I guess. It's really interesting that I'm making references to things I don't even know about. Which I should have just said yeah, but I feel like that would be lying.
Maybe it was an unconscious thing, you know? Like you probably saw it flash
I've
into
never
the screen.
seen this person. It's really weird, like putting out 300 albums. Now I have to look it up.
Also, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that he, like, for a very brief period of time, he tried to have, like, a moving company. Like, you know, he'd move people's things for them out of a house and into another house. But he just, like, went off with the things and never gave them back.
That sounds terrible.
I don't know if that's actually true.
I mean,
but,
you gotta pay for
I don't know.
your...
There's a bunch of weird stories surrounding Viper, and I could probably butcher a lot of them for like 10 minutes, but I'm not going to. But you can look it up. It's pretty crazy stuff.
You gotta pay for your music equipment somehow, you know?
I mean, he's gonna use it as props. You know?
Wow. Set design on a budget.
the theater.
Wow.
Maybe we can get Viper on here one day. Who knows?
That'd be sick.
I like that name though. Like it's kind of cool.
Viper?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good name. I think he also goes by Viper the Rapper, which is a good little rhyme, half rhyme.
Yeah, it does. It rhymes.
Wait.
We should get him on. I don't know. I don't think it would be that hard. I think I saw him interviewed on some podcast one time. And it wasn't like a big one or anything, so we might be able to pull it off.
Didn't he have a cassette run or something?
Yeah, I think he did on some label.
It was advertised on our Vaporwave. So I'm confused as to why that happened.
I'm sorry, Culttastic, because this has like no relation to anything you've been doing. It was such a loose thread, but like I'm glad you brought it up at the same time.
Colt, maybe you can collab with him.
Oh no, I don't know about that. Sounds really dramatic. I mean, yeah. I feel like to collab with someone at this point, I need to really like them as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't really need to collab with people. Like I can make my own stuff, but if I like someone and I like their music, like that's a reason to collab.
Noah or Kwaku, is there any kind of questions you'd like to ask before we kind of wrap it up?
Not a question, but like about the autotune thing. I know when I'm doing my music, I guess it's probably because I'm not skilled with the autotune. So what I do is it's the same thing to effect, but I layer my own vocals when I'm singing at different, I guess, pitches, and it seems to work out, for me. I'm not sure if anyone else does that.
So like harmonizing?
Yeah, that would be a simpler way of saying it.
That's cool. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
harmonies. Yeah. No, I do that sometimes. I'll harmonize or layer my vocals. Yeah, for sure.
I think we've covered a lot of ground today. I really enjoyed sitting down to talk with you, Culttastic. I know my co-host enjoyed it too. Definitely look forward to having you back with some of our other guests at some point. Is there anything that you would like to shout out before we wrap things up?
This is really cool. I feel like maybe I spoke a lot. This is probably the most candid interview I've ever done. Because I just, because it's spontaneous and it feels sort of live. I probably should shout out my friend Mr. Kitty and my friend Lisping. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just like my head is all.
Oh, it's cool. Don't worry about it.
Cool. I'm curious to hear it. I feel bad about dissing Maroon 5. That's probably the only thing I feel bad about in this interview. Oh yeah, and giving away all my production secrets. So there's that, but that's fine. I hope they help.
Don't worry. We can redact that for you.
No, it's all right.
Just play noise in the background.
I hope somebody finds use and entertainment. So there's that. Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me. Yeah, this is cool. I've never done a podcast.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been DJ Angel Fire for World Movers Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you hopefully next week.